Okay, but we should be good to go, so let's go ahead and get started. Good afternoon. This is Ifan from the Strategic Day Trader, and this is your market wrap for October 17th, 2019. Q is going to be up almost a 1/4% there. Was gapping up further. Got sold from the open there. SPY, same thing here. We came into today bullish, expecting the hourly buy setup to continue. Uptrend on the hourly to continue. We had a gap up and then got pulled back into support. We still look higher on the daily, kind of just chopping up here, grinding higher on the hourly. Okay, so going into tomorrow, not much different than what we expect from today. Expect sell-offs to get bought, bullish on the larger time frames. As far as the market, I think macro news can still have an impact, can still strike at any time. But the good thing is that we have earnings names to go after. All right, so today we played the TSM, played this short once it became a gap berry. Now this is consistently my most accurate strategy. The TSM today was a gap berry, gap up and got sold hard there on the TSM. If you recall, we played this NIO, which was a reverse of that. All right, so this strategy, which we worked on in 2017 and consistently stays above 70% to give us at least 1R, is one that I wish came up more often. Unfortunately, we do get kind of pro gaps and novice gaps maybe more frequently than we do gap bullies and gap bears, especially really good ones. And so going after this TSM off a 2-minute sell setup was the play here. Okay, and a lot of people actually now, after kind of playing them with me and seeing how well they work, also help find them in the room. So I really appreciate those of you that scan and put out additional ones that come up. This one was a nice 2-minute sell setup right here. You can see we started the downtrend, we broke lower, right? We put in this retracement here, and then right underneath this bar, we were in looking for new lows, and the final target was, we were looking for around 48 or 49.30. Okay, here was the call. Okay, so you actually could have played it a little bit earlier, right in here under 90. Once it triggered and then tried to bounce back up, that's when I gave it the official call. So that's what showed up in the announcement box. Okay, and then looking for new lows as target one. Once we got in here, we trailed some. Okay, and so you can see also why I like to trail. You can see that once it got through the lows, we got some nice continuation until we trailed. Didn't add that much, but at least for the front half, nice trail. And then the back half eventually trailed out over here. Oh, we took 3/4 actually, because it was actually a little bit further than what I was expecting on target one. So we did take 3/4 and then took the last piece right here. That 49.30 target came from the hourly here. So we see these kind of this support established here, right? Now it could have gone further, and of course I would have kind of regretted taking it there and not letting it run even further. But the only other thing I could have done, according to my management plan, was leave the stop up here at 49.86. So that was really the only other option because we were down here. So it was either look to take it and take that profit off the table, or it could come all the way back up. Now I could wait for the next bar to finish forming and then trail off of the top of the next bar, right? But given that we were up pretty nicely on that last piece, decided to take it. And so ended up being a good exit on that. Sometimes you'll get out and it'll go further and you'll wish you'd stuck with it, but in this case, looking at kind of what was on the table and where my manager would say we'd have to take to trail to, I decided let's just take the whole thing. So that was a nice downtrend there on the TSM, and Usually, really, I mean, usually I show you guys, I'm like, this is where we got out. It went a bit further. You could have held it longer, you could have trailed it this way or that, right? So, sometimes though, you do actually end up managing it pretty well. I thought in this case, we managed it pretty well. And, glad that this finally showed up, because I thought that today, especially at the open, was a little bit tricky. I did have the LLNW as my favorite in the pre-market. It was on the hot list to be played. And for me, this isn't really a good entry. This buying here, now if this were a red bar or had shown some selling at some point, but this is pretty much just a solid green bar. I wanted to see some kind of pushback, some kind of entry, and it kind of just took off. So you could have played the high-low here, 360 by 352 or 350, something along those lines. And then it took off pretty nicely. I don't think you'd be, in any pain at any point during this if you went after this. But I did let it go. That worked pretty nicely. And then after that, I thought there was kind of some sloppy things here and there. I did like the SYRS as a gap down, but that also, once it just, I can't play this. I mean, look at this spottiness. All this kind of spots and dots and stuff. So, those were kind of the favorites. So, kind of starting off today, I did feel a little bit like either I was going to miss out like I did on the LLNW, or I was left with kind of some sloppier, uglier things. I think the TXT was also something that I had on a chart to see if that sets up, and in the morning here as well. Like, I'll look at it, just kind of like it got bought and then got sloppy, ended up just kind of closing here, probably near the VWAP, because this kind of basing usually kind of settles down to where equilibrium is when you see this kind of stuff. So, initially this morning I thought, there may not be that much to do, but eventually this TSM came up, and I'm glad we took it. I was getting a question today kind of about, what made it okay to play? Why did you kind of go for this even after in the morning, right, that I mentioned that things were kind of sloppy and I wasn't really seeing anything that I want to be aggressive on. And this is also something that I talked about today, is that when you review, when you go over things, you see things, right? And that helps you to not hesitate. That helps you to take plays with confidence. You could have the most confidence, in a play and have it still not work. That's fine. But it's when you come across a play, you're not sure if it's good or not, and then you realize maybe after it's already worked, oh yeah, this looks like this other play and this other play and these other patterns that I've been seeing, right? So, what happened this morning, or what happened on this HLE, right, when I first saw it, is I thought, oh, okay, this is a gap berry, right, but it's going to be into support, so I don't like it. But what I didn't notice when I saw it on this day was that this was an all-time highs gap up, right, which makes this more powerful, telling you this is the selling point of a lifetime, that this new high is getting rejected and everybody needs to get out, because there are no more buyers here. All-time highs, we're getting sold hard, okay? And at the time, I didn't make that connection. I thought HLE into support, so I passed on a very nice sell setup, okay, on the HLE. We can find it pretty easily right here. See how this was getting sold hard and then did a retracement and then nice follow through. So actually, the first time I came across this TSM this morning, I came across it and I thought, okay, the TSM is getting sold, okay, but it's actually into support, right? And then I remembered to go back and look at it. So I actually was already like a couple symbols away on the watch list, and then went back up on the watch list to see, oh, is this gapping from all-time highs? Is this gapping from all-time highs and then selling? Okay, then this has a better chance of having a nice downtrend all morning and breaking through various levels of support, right? So as soon as I kind of passed over it, I remembered, it's easy to overlook these, to think that they're at support, but when they are doing it from all-time highs or all-time lows, like in the case of the NIO that we played on this day, they usually are going to trend all day. They're usually going to close, if it's a bully, at the highs and on a very near the lows. Okay, so It's one of those things that why we put in the time, the preparation afterwards, even though, I could stare at that HELE all day after the fact. It's not going to give me a chance to get back in it or necessarily to have that trade and do it over again. But what it will do is it'll kind of teach me and kind of prepare me for the next one. Okay, and so that's kind of what we're always doing, even if we're not taking a lot of trades like we right now, even though it's the beginning of earnings season, right? And we aren't taking half a dozen trades a day, which I wouldn't be surprised if we do next week. It's these kind of things that we've been preparing for, also kind of increasing kind of our endurance to navigate what I thought was a lot of sloppy stuff at the open. Okay, so hopefully you did well today. I don't think it was the easiest day. Like I said, I think at the open there was kind of a lot of back and forth. The LL&W was a good focus, but didn't give me an entry I wanted, and so hopefully you were able to navigate today okay. All right, and hopefully you're having a nice week. I think we've had some pretty nice plays this week, just pretty consistent, even if not all of them have been home runs. Pretty accurate week so far, so hopefully you're doing well. All right, so we'll be back at it tomorrow to close out the week. All right, and we'll see what the market has for us tomorrow. All right, have a good evening, everyone.